Okay, so I am back. It is Joy, Dr. Joy, and we are going to do another story time session. Reflect on some times in 2021, COVID, extract some stories, extract some lessons maybe. And if there's any follow-up questions that anyone has or comments, you know where to leave those. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into some photos. So the photos I have this time are going to be from May 2021 to June 2021. Looking at the photos right now, I can see that I was in my my lash era. So I have very short lashes, but I like my lashes. I'm good with them at this point. But that was a point in time where I talked about in the previous video, I was in my partnership where I felt very free in a very sensual way, and even in a very spiritual way, to be able to talk about like manifesting with my partner and really starting to be respectful of the type of timelines that two people would like to have, and really be considerate of how to bring those things together. So learning to openly talk about that with a partner. I feel like at this point, I don't know if we had started the podcast, but it was probably around this time. Our relationship got to the point where we were really, really close. I felt almost married. But we did start a relationship podcast and things like that. And so the lashes, even me talking about the whole lash era, I remember getting my lashes. My nails are always done. It was always something that was, in my mind, tapping more into my feminine essence, right? And my hair has never been something that I felt like detracted from me being feminine. But sometimes I would say whether or not I felt boxy in the face, in the body, if I felt bloated, so to speak, I think my idea of femininity started to be shaped not just by the relationship that I was in, but in, I would say, because of the community that we were in a lot of intimate type of relationships where people had an impact on how you felt about yourself. People were always validating in the spaces that we were, or being silent maybe felt invalidating, right? It is very normal for people to not be complimenting you all the time. But when you go into communities where complimenting each other is a part of your flirting, you're connecting, it's not just acceptable, it's almost expected. Everything becomes somewhat of a competition, right? And so I never felt like I necessarily could compete with another person. In my mind, that doesn't even make sense when we try to compete with other people, because we're just so different from each other. Like, I don't know, even like trends with clothes and things like that, that's never been my thing. I like what I like, whatever year it is, whatever month it is, whatever season it is. If I like the thing, I'm probably going to wear it. So I never try to catch up in that way. But I was saying, me trying to tap more into my femininity was something that I thought that I was doing. And I would say that it showed. So I have a head wrap on. This was kind of me also embracing protective styles, but also just adding style, adding, how could I say, things that I could have control over. Just saying that out loud, I'm realizing again, this was a period of after being married and feeling very controlled in relationships. This was a reflection of me being in control of everything. And it maybe got to a point where it was too much of wanting to be in control of every little aspect of me. One of the other pictures that I have up, I don't have the head wrap on, but I definitely have my lashes. I stuck with those lashes, and these are like permanent lashes, the ones that you go for like an hour and a half to get on, whatever. So I stuck with that whole journey for quite a bit of time. But I'm looking at the ways that I was changing, and there was like more color coming into my space, my fashion, even my hair. I think my hair was like hot pink at that point. Really trying to find myself. So the pictures I put up, I'm not putting up pictures of my partner. So they're pictures of myself, but just to give more context, I was with my partner almost all the time. Again, it was during COVID. So there was a lot of anyone who was partnered up was probably with their partner, with their children, whoever was living in their home, right? And at that point, I don't know if we were living together, but we were staying together. No. Um, so this was also the beginning, yes, of our journey transitioning from being in a swinging community and then going into a poly community, like really getting ourselves into that space. And so the reason I'm saying that is because I'm remembering how much I really took it on, how much I sucked in that information. And then the competition became even greater. Where in the swinging community, let's say it's more about your aesthetic. In the poly community, you still, whatever community you're in, we all have like these ideas around attractiveness and that type of thing. So then it was kind of finding ways to be attractive in a space that you've never been. Like, what are even the rules? What's acceptable? Lots of conversations around jealousy would come up. I started doing support groups, and I started doing an E&M support group, especially after being in the space and seeing some of the things that would happen, and a lot of miscommunications, because you're dealing with so many different people who communicate in so many different ways and have different expectations for their family dynamics, different expectations around secrecy. That's probably always been my thing that I always get kind of hit up against, looking for communities again that are not shrouded in secrecy, but even people who are in those communities still have levels of secrecy, right? So then having to learn those different dynamics, and also learning that it was okay to have several different dynamics, right? You often go into like our spaces of growth. We're looking for what's the righteous way to be, the right way to be, the smart way to be. And you're looking at people's past and their rules and things that they've done. So everything that I share, even in my journey, I'm not sharing my journey so that I can say this is what you should do. When you get married, you're 2 times. Like I'm not saying any of those things. I'm saying if you have similar energies, right? These are maybe some of the ways that I was able to exit stage left, or these are some of the realizations that maybe you had this lesson a few times and you missed a possible realization, right? And it could be similar. So, but the being in the poly community, being in that space really cracked me open to this idea of basically everything outside of monogamy. And monogamy in our communities where we have monogamous expectations, right? It comes with not just an expectation of a man and a woman in a relationship. Um, it's not just that. I know it's more than a man and woman, but I'm saying that's kind of the patriarchal idea of like monogamy, right? But it comes with the ideas of how your children are supposed to be and have to be with you, how your neighbors, like what is neighborly actually being, what is protective, what is safety. Some communities are of the idea that everything, there is no privacy, right? And that it's even maybe against the way that you connect with your God to have privacy, that it's sinful or it's wrong or whatever, where other communities believe something different. And so, and it starts with the idea of the nuclear family. So many other things can trickle off and be different. So if you go into, I'm calling it a poly community, but I'm saying it because that was like maybe the original setup, but it's more E&M, because everybody just does their relationship in a different way. E&M being ethical non-monogamy, right? So my bare minimum for going to those spaces was that it would at least be ethical. And we imagine that if we talk about it and we put it on the table, that it will become ethical because there are certain things that are known. But again, everyone that comes in there, coming from different backgrounds, where maybe keeping secrets were held in higher respect or regard or whatever, people still politic no matter where we go. So again, you can never really get the complete thing. The complete maybe truth or the true intentions of everyone. And then when you have so many people involved, just in like, let's say people involved in creating events. We would have events that we would go to every year and that type of thing. And sometimes it would be really hard just to get that together, because say there was a couple or a throuple or a group, a pod, right, organizing it, and they are a family unit, and they think very differently maybe than another unit who wants to be a part of it. And it's not just 4 people now. it's not just two people organizing something. It's a whole lot of different people with a whole lot of different perspectives, which are valid perspectives as to what, giving ideas around what people would enjoy and whether or not you include kids. Is it family friendly? Is it about being free? Because people have so many different reasons for entering the community, for some people, it is all about freedom. For some people, it is all about security. It's about having stability. It's about having community, or it's about having an accepted individualistic experience, right? So I'm saying all this stuff like blah, 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 to kind of put you in the understanding of the state of mind that I was in, that it was like this beautiful research space, experiential space for me to really start to tap into me, and more unfolds after this. Now, what's funny is I see after these pictures are taken, actually it's 2 in May and 1 in June, that there's no pictures between then and September of that same year. And I think that was because I was like literally full force into understanding things. I think that we at that point have probably my partner and myself had started to actually fully step into that space and try to have another partner or other partners. We opened up. We finally actually did open up our relationship, and it was the beginning of those things. This is what I will say. I'm never, I'm an advocate again of ethical whatever, whether it is being monogamous or non-monogamous, it doesn't matter. What I'll say for anyone who maybe finds themselves in the transition of these different communities, first of all, please don't have any shame about changing communities. This isn't like a religion, right? And it's not like you're disloyal for changing your mind around how you want to share your space, your body, your ideas, who you want to share them with. You live these things and you learn um, the communities all definitely had cliques. And it was clearly dressed the same, we talk the same. This group does the same type of drug. This one works out like they're, like there's no tomorrow. This one is all like party, party, party. This one is maybe on the verge of like, let's have a meditation and yoga retreat, but one that definitely leads to more fun. It's just so many different types of people, but don't be scared, I guess, to explore those spaces and explore what spaces it kind of finds in you. If you're going to explore it, I would definitely look to do it with a friend or a partner, right? Not necessarily go to conventions or concerts or trips, whatever, by yourself. I am a solo traveler. I love solo traveling. I'm saying, but specifically if you're in this place of trying to understand things a little bit better, it's for just from a safety standpoint, it's good to have someone that is can anchor you back in, because a lot of people can talk you into a whole lot of things, not that they're trying to trick you, but you don't know what you don't know. Sometimes it's just good to have another person who can anchor you back, or who can check in with you, who you can bounce ideas off, someone that you're not afraid to be completely authentic about, and you decide whether or not that's like a sensual connection, that if you're dealing with somebody who can't manage that, if there's a jealousy issue around that, it may just be a platonic person, but you need to have someone to talk to about these experiences, because like say you start dealing with a couple or whatever, you don't want to have more minds overpowering your way of thinking. Now, I had talked earlier about what I had really started to tap into was, in terms of my grounding and mindfulness, was a lot more meditation and my chakras and that type of thing. And even in this part of the experience, I think that I had kind of gotten a little bit more lax around talking so much about energetic things. I was more focused on, it wasn't more focused on, like I said, I was more focused on the dynamics of relationships and things like that, right? But in order for me to start to find my grounding, I don't even remember now what the hell my point was. It's probably gonna get edited out. Anyway, going back to, it's good to have another person to bounce your ideas off of. There was something else I was going to say about. I can't remember, guys. Okay, my point. Um, I wish that there had been things like support group, like E&M support groups while I was going through this. So this is actually going through this experience is what led me to start to do the support groups that I was doing on the platform that I was on. At this point, I'm on my own platform, and I have held on to the support groups and communities that were specifically helpful to me and my journey, meaning the themes were things that would have helped me, right? I didn't find support groups like that. So I created them. But that is what I would say diving into this space even more and going into the poly space for me. I could be much more disconnected when we were just in a swinging space and we were more visually taking things in more than anything else. But going into the poly space and really trying to establish relationships was, I wouldn't say heartbreaking necessarily, but it would be a little bit disappointing and like confusing and frustrating, right? Because man, why is it so hard to get people on the same page? Um, Again, people want so many different things, and people will say that they want things because they want one thing, right? So, for example, most of the time, if you're in a poly community, there's at least two of you who are looking for maybe two more people, one more person, whatever the case may be. But to get all these amount of people to actually want the same things in the same way is tricky. It almost never failed. Like, my partner bringing in a partner, whoever they brought in always was either more attracted to me or more attracted to them. It was never an even thing. And you can entertain it for a little bit, but this is where really tapping into what your body feels like, how your body responds to stuff, intuitive kind of body mapping, right? Asking your body questions. I think I started around here is when I really started tapping more into that as well. Just doing my meditation, but then like letting it be quiet, letting myself breathe and move myself through, let's say, the imagined energies of my chakras, right? So it's also moving yourself through significant things that go on in our lives all the time, right? So if we're looking at our root chakra, we're looking at our security. It could be like the idea of money, it could be the idea of family, but foundation, knowing that you have something to lean on. And then we move to our sacral chakra, which is more going to be around our sex, our emotions, our creativity. Looking at your solar plexus, moving up a little bit more, that's also like our creativity, but our personal empowerment is here, right? Our authentic self is here, processing emotions on another level, colliding them more with your creativity and that type of thing, and intellectualizing, I guess, what you're feeling. We move up to our heart chakra. That's going to be about our receiving and giving love, our ability to do so, or what barriers we may have for either of those. Our throat chakra, speaking our truth, right? Being in a space of knowing what even our truth is, but being able to share with others in a way that is maybe not fearless, but that is courageous, and understanding that it is that you deserve to be heard on things. You deserve to have an opportunity to change things that you want to change, right? And looking at our third eye, like our vision for our future, but our intuition. But to me, your third eye, or third chakra are going to go together, because when I have clarity and I can see, then I can speak my clarity. But also, if I am in a space where I am afraid of speaking what I've seen, right, then I'm going to have issues with my third chakra. I'm going to have, there's a whole thing I can get into around chakra injuries, which is, again, when I started to expand my understanding of our bodies and kinetics, I started looking at that, like being able to identify if there was something going on the right side or the left side of your body, in which part of your body. And this is all me reading all these different things while I'm doing therapy, while I'm living this life. Maybe you have an issue with receiving love. Maybe you have an issue with giving love. Oh, that pain on that side might mean that you are stuck or afraid of an opportunity, or you're afraid something, you're grieving, whatever the case may be. But I think being in this space, which is like being put into this boxing ring of E&M relationships, makes you start to look for different tools to gain clarity around what's happening. What is my body telling me? Even though I was talking about having that person with you that you can bounce ideas off of, yes, because our minds can be an echo chamber. We don't have anything new coming in. We're just saying the same thing to ourselves. But ultimately, if your intellectual self is not able to grasp the yes or no for the decision you're trying to make going forward, that's when I would get quiet and really start to tap into my body. I've gone so far as to, man, be in the middle of like, that moment, like you want to call that person back, that you need to call back, but like I've been strong long enough, I think, and I really want to get it. Like I want it. And I remember sitting legs crossed on my patio and doing a thing where basically I like tapped into the chakras, right? And my body was rocking. I remember I was just doing my breathing and letting it flow in my body. And I asked my body a question. I think I thought I was going to tell this story later, but I don't know if I'll remember later. I asked my body, should I allow myself to be with this person again? Like, should I let this person enter my body, my sacral area again? Is like, so I asked my womb is what I really did. Like I focused on my womb, my sacral, and I tested it out before those questions with like what a yes is and what a no is for my body, right? And so I got the response. It's heartbreaking, but I got the response. My body told me what it did and did not want. And I was able to move forward from that without feeling confused, without being like mystified by any heartbreak or disappointment, whatever. I was able to protect myself in the best way that my heart knew how, right? By tapping into that. So, random. But what I do see with the evolution of even the head wrap and then my locks, and then I cut my locks. So when I started my locks, I started it with, call it full locks, but it was my hair extensions, right? My hair was really short because I was growing literally out from here, and then I got enough for the locticians to be able to start the locks. So then when it got long enough, I went and I cut the locks to where, wherever they had grown, so I can just start my own. And I remember at that time, I asked my daughter, I was like, oh, do you, I cut my locks, do you like my hair? Just a peek into my relationship. I have a daughter and a son, so my kids were living there at the time. But I remember my daughter said to me, no, because I don't like short hair. I think she was like, I will not get into every single bit of it, but a part of my story is being a licensed marriage and family therapist and a mom and a figure in a face, right? Who also has trials and tribulations, so to speak, right? With my kids. I have a mean girl daughter. I love her, but she can be mean, right? And those are things, relationship dynamics, also trying to manage how to be a mom who's emerging as this person, understanding her sensuality a little bit differently, how to be a good example at the same time while I'm also growing. Can you be an example while you're growing? And then not wanting to be in a community shrouded in secrecy, but how am I honoring that in my house? And how much secrecy am I having? Or how much am I oversharing out of respect for where my kids are developmentally? And then on top of it, as this journey and the stories unfold, realizing that I have the father of my kids, the narcissist, aka a terrorist on my life. And so me going through these changes is something that would absolutely press that button for the person who wants to control you and already feels that they can control you, like to make them completely, right? So a lot of these things, the evolutions that I was having was also, I would say, lined up with more narcissistic attacks coming at me that got stronger and stronger. As I got stronger, the attacks got stronger. Okay. I would say so probably a lot of the things that I was doing in terms of like wanting to have control, I was not in that moment able to correlate it, but looking back at it, realizing that everything I did was about me getting back my control because I was consistently being bullied by a bully, right? Like I felt like I was consistently on the playground being bullied. And I think I started to build my life around like, how can I show you that you can't bully me? But it becomes consuming, which is the purpose of a narcissistic like battle, to consume you. So it was all those things, trying to not be consumed by that, trying to not be controlled by my current partner, and being so controlled by the idea of not being controlled, maybe I did let them control me into too much freedom. Trying to be this mom that you're supposed to be, but not embarrass anybody, but still, and also trying to own that I can't embarrass anybody. They feel how they feel. I was not there then. I was not there yet. I seemed pretty bold, but I was definitely not there. And because I would say during this time period, um, this was definitely a time where it was becoming more clear to my current partner how much my ex probably um, invaded every single one of my romantic relationships. Again, not something that I completely could see until later down the line. But this is kind of the opener for more things to come. But again, what I would say that I was learning during this period was how to be unafraid of capturing more and more of me, exploring my femininity, what that meant, what that looked like, while still exploring my boundaries as a woman, as a mother, as an ex. That is a thing too, having ex boundaries, and as a current lover, like what were all the boundaries? So that's all I have for her story for today. But looking forward to coming back. And if there's any questions or any similar experiences or stories, or specific questions about swinging community, like community, whatever the case may be, let me know in the comments and any resources I have. I will get to you with.